Georgia's Senate runoff elections take center stage today, and so far the polls are showing that it's anybody's race. Joining us right now is Heidi Heitkamp. She is former U.S. Senator and a CNBC contributor, and Judd Gregg, who's a former U.S. Senator and the former governor of New Hampshire. For those of you who don't know, and I don't know who that might be, Heidi, of course, is a Democrat and Judd is a Republican. But, Judd, I think your take on this is pretty interesting. I think Republicans and Democrats have both been nervous about this race. But as a Republican, you think the Democrats are going to win. Why?
Well, first off, I don't think the importance of this race can be overstated because as a practical matter, if the entire government becomes controlled by the Democratic Party, all government moves left under any circumstances, but it's going to lurch radically left, in my opinion. Why do I think our candidates are in trouble? Two reasons. One, I think the Democratic base is very motivated, and it's going to turn out in very large numbers. And two, Donald Trump has thrown the Republican Party into disarray and disillusionment and confusion. And the ironic situation here is that none of these people are going to serve with Donald Trump, but he has become the issue in the campaign. And it's so foolish that this has been allowed to happen. But of course, with this president, everything's about me. And unfortunately, it's these two candidates who are quality candidates, the Republican side, are being lost in this dialogue that Trump has created about himself, especially with the call to the Secretary of State.
Heidi, what do you think?
Well, I mean, it's kind of interesting that the governor would say that he thinks the Democrats are going to win. I think at this point, the edge is to the Republicans. This is still a Republican state. These Senate races become nationalized, but I would not underestimate the kind of organization that the Democratic Party has done in Georgia. And this is going to be a turnout election. So I think it's a toss-up. But again, let's not forget the dynamics that this Georgia is still a Republican state, certainly leaning purple. But a lot of those suburban voters across the country went out and they voted against the president because they didn't like his behavior, and then turned around and voted for a Democrat or for a Republican senator. You take Iowa. I mean, I could go across the country and show you where we thought we were going to win in 2020 and we didn't. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but I think this is definitely a toss-up.
Well, I like Heidi's view.
Judd, let's go back to. Yeah, not the take I would have expected from either of you, although you both make the point that voter turnout is going to be key for this. But, Judd, let's talk a little bit about what you think is at stake.
In a race like this. This is going to be a winner-take-all event. Yeah. People don't go into a special election and vote and split their ticket.
I agree. I think it's going to be either both Democrats or both Republicans. I don't think this is going to split.
In terms of what this means, though, what it means for the Senate to be either run by the Democrats or the Republicans, lay out, Judd, why you're so concerned about that.
Well, because the issue is the filibuster. Obviously, there are a large number of Democrats, including Chuck Schumer, who have said essentially that they're willing to repeal the filibuster on policy. And if you do that, basically the Senate becomes the House where the majority can override the minority. And the whole structure of the Senate was basically built around the idea that the minority would have a voice and that it would be a place where the majority could not overwhelm the minority so that we wouldn't have a single source government like you have in a parliamentary system. And the first item might be, for example, if they eliminate the filibuster, that they make the District of Columbia a state in order to basically permanently create two Democratic seats in the Senate and a permanent majority. And there's a lot of bad policy that occurs when you don't have bipartisan participation. And if you take the Senate, take away the filibuster, basically on policy, you basically aren't going to have any bipartisanship anywhere in the government.
Becky, I think it's important to note that when you look at what some of my colleagues, former colleagues, especially people like Joe Manchin, have said, he's not going to vote to eliminate the filibuster. And so I think the Senate with the Democratic majority, 50-50, that puts the moderates in control and puts an incredible amount of power among people like Lisa Murkowski and Joe Manchin and people that I used to spend a lot of time with. And so I have a lot of hope that we're going to see some really good and probably more moderate policies coming out of the Senate. I think the balance is going to have to be done with the House, where you see a tighter minority there majority there for the Democrats, putting maybe more of the progressive element in a better position to drive policy.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.